Why hello there! I am Tonton Bidon, and we are starting a playthrough for Sunless Skies. Sunless Skies is a narrative exploration game in which we drive a locomotive in space. This game was published in 2019 and it is the successor to Sunless Sea, the first opus of Fairbetter Games, which I haven't played. It's set up in a steampunk universe where the British Empress has taken London to the skies, literally. During our spacefaring, we'll be confronted to disturbing, often eldritch mysteries. I love this aesthetic, which is why I thought I'd give Sunless Skies another try. I played it for a while a few years ago, but I eventually dropped it, because I got impatient and started skipping through text, which, when you're playing a narrative game, obviously is a slow and insidious killer. I've noticed that I am much more disciplined when I am recording, and that's why I thought I'd record my playthrough, with the added benefits that it may just make for a nice way to enjoy Sunless Skies, enticing yet verbose, by video game standards anyway, story. The narration, the fuck is the pronunciation of that word? The narration? Okay, let's go with that. The narration is not only verbose, it's also quite refined, which would be the reason I'm recording this in English. As you might have noticed already, I am not a native English speaker. And, well, there's no translation for this game in French, which is my main language, and live translating a text so rich implies a substantial drop in quality, which would be quite a shame. Anyway, introduction has lasted for long enough. Let's get going. Stop the engine. Right, we're gonna play on Legacy, which is not an Iron Man mode per se. If we die in the game, it doesn't end the playthrough, but the locomotive gets a new captain. We're not gonna mess with any of the parameters. Our expedition to the domains of the dead has been eventful. The Orpheon is damaged and in grievous need of repairs and supplies. We are returning in haste to the Reach, where I hope to make port at New Winchester. May God be with us, for 1,000 deaths wait in the sky. Right, that's the kind of screen we're going to be staring at a lot. So here is our locomotive, which I'm driving using my controller. We have returned to the Reach, an untamed, sunless span of the heavens, London's new frontier, a celestial garden run wild. Your journey back from the Blue Kingdom was tumultuous. Your locomotive is damaged, and Captain Whitlock badly wounded. As first officer, the crew look to you. The nearest station is New Winchester. Can you get the Orpheon there safely? Here's a bunch of debris which we can scavenge. We just got a bit of fuel, which you can see, well, right under there. We've got fuel and supplies. The meter you see below that is the hull, which is currently damaged. A wreck drifts here, less fortunate even than you. We should scavenge her for repairs, the crewman suggests. The wreck hangs in the sky, pocked with recent gunfire. You and the boarding party don your sky suits, garments of waxed canvas lined with felt to protect against the cold of the sky. Two of the crew are whispering as they dress. What business did Captain Whitlock have in the Blue Kingdom anyway? Why the devil did we trespass on the districts of the dead? You silence him. Now's not the time. So, when we have text like that, we're gonna have choices. Here, there is only one. Leap across to the wreck. The gap between the two engines isn't wide, but the endless fathoms of heaven gape beneath it. You jump. Your stomach lurches with vertigo as the stars blaze above you and below. Gee, that's hard. Pronunciation is gonna be a bit of a struggle until I get accustomed to talking English again. The air of the heavens is thin and torn by unpredictable winds. Then your boots hit the running board of the Ozymandias, and your leather-gloved hands fumble for a hold. One of your companions throws you a line, and you lash the two engines together. Only then do the rest of the boarding party follow you. One of them forces open an exterior hatch, and you clamber inside. Her interior is cold, unlit, and whistles with wind. Your party's lamps spread buttery light over the narrow, paneled passages. You make your way towards the hold, stepping over bodies, right? Crumpled in the corridor. Unfortunately, your way is blocked. A bulkhead has been mangled inward by a well-aimed barrage. So we can either try to clear the obstruction or find a way around. These two choices will have us take a test, a check, and this check is based on different stats. Here we have an iron stats, which can be strength or resilience, and here we have a veil's stats. Veil, I think, is about deceit, subterfuge, escaping. We have the same chance of success here, so we're just gonna go veils because. Lead your party on a more precarious path. Go back out onto the Ozymandias' hull, climb past the blockage, and enter through a window on the far side, and do so carefully. Oh, it was written here. Veils is deceiving and evading. Okay. Success! The rest of the boarding party follow you without enthusiasm. You recall the first time you climbed outside an engine, helping the captain fix a leak in an exterior pipe. The wind had shrieked, buffeting at you. You asked the captain what would happen if you slipped. You fall, she answered, tersely. But where to? You asked. She looked down, then up, then back. The sky's depths spiraled? Not too sure here. Spiraled all about you. Away, she said, and you heard her fear. Back in the present, you tumble back into the Ozymandias through a shattered window. Your party spilling after you, glad to be back inside. You have reached the Ozymandias' hold, a ruin of smashed cargo and spilled supplies. Hopefully, somewhere amidst the detritus, you can find parts to repair the Orpheon and restock your stores. So we can conduct a thorough search. I'm not gonna read that. Some of the text is, well, feels kind of placeholder. You find enough food and gear to restock your supplies, and enough spare parts to make necessary repairs to the Orpheon. The food will need to be thoroughly thawed, of course, but you've eaten worse in the skies. So the skies are cold. I guess it makes sense. So we are literally in space. Oh, cries one of your party, prying the lid off a long crate. It holds a cannon, still nestled in straw. Another crewman pulls a battered bird cage from a pile of ruined cargo. Within the cage, something winged and furred opens a sullen eye. You examine your finds. So we've got supplies and some hull points. Okay. The Ozymandias emits a long, juddering creak. Your boarding party exchange nervous glances. From the chaos of its hold, You have retrieved repairs and supplies, and discovered some useful equipment. A gun that could be mounted on your locomotive, and an educated bat. So you can mount the cannon and get that bat. Liberate a diffident bat and employ it as a scout. The heavens are wide, so locomotives. Where's the stress in that word? Locomotive? Locomotive? I don't know. So locomotives. That feels a bit better. So locomotives use scouts, like bats, to locate things of interest. Ports, resources, wrecks like this one, to scavenge. The bat treats its rescue as an inconvenience and immediately begins haggling over pay. You offer to put it back in its damn cage and leave it on the Ozymandias, at which point it becomes more polite. You doubt it will last. So the bat has a bit of a personality. That's nice. We've also gotten a cannon. Mount the Jerusalem cannon on the Orpheon. Their own weapons were damaged during your flight to the Blue Kingdom. That leaves you vulnerable. The Cotterell and Hather Sage Jerusalem fires single shells to a good range, more or less accurately. You order 2 of your party to get it back to your vessel and fit it immediately. The Ozymandias groans again. The structure shudders spasmodically. Spasmodically? I struggle a lot in English with stresses. I would expect most strangers struggle with English stresses, but that's especially true for me. As a French, I do not use stresses at all when I'm talking. Rather, I use them where I think they make sense. Which is not at all how you use stresses in English. So, we can choose to either press on to the engine room or return to the Orpheon, because the wreck is starting to disassemble and we don't want to be there when that happens. We are still gonna push a bit. I do like pushing my luck. You might find more fuel there, but you had better hurry. The Ozymandias is beginning to tear apart. The wreck of the Ozymandias screeches as its metal buckles and tears. You press on through the shuddering corridors, searching frantically for the engine room. We can send a smaller party ahead or go ourselves. So we can be brave, or we can just delegate bravery to our subordinates, which I'm gonna do here. No one is keen to go on alone. I didn't read what was before that. It's foolish for all of you to go. Send your quickest and lightest to retrieve the fuel while the rest of you return to the Orpheon. No one is keen to go alone. In the end, you have to rely on drawing lots. The 2 members of the party with the shortest straws pale and make their cautious way towards the engine room. The rest of you return to the Orpheon and await their return. And wait. And wait. Too late. With a dying groan, the Ozymandias buckles and splits in half, the 2 ends spiraling in different directions into the sky. The 2 crew that were still aboard are lost. Solemnly, you stoke your engines and steam away, restocked and rearmed, but fewer. That's a shame. So the bat we just got is gonna act as our scout. We can send it away. And then after some time, it comes back. And when we check our map, which is here, it will discover stuff for us. So we know there's a station here. That's likely New Winchester, or direction. Summoned by Captain Whitlock. The walls of the captain's cabin are lined with a hodgepodge of curios from across the sky. Captain Whitlock lies in bed. Black marks cover her skin like a monstrous brand. When she coughs, coils of acrid smoke pour from her lungs. That's pretty bad. We can inquire after her injuries, or approach the bedside. The locomotive's doctor attends her, his lips are tight. So we would be asking about news of the captain from the doctor in front of the captain. That feels kind of rude. I'm just gonna talk to the captain. Approach the bedside. The captain opens her eyes as you draw near. She attempts to smile. Her mouth is blistered from the blue fires that dance on her tongue. Her hand grips your arm. Her skin is hot as a kettle. Made arrangements. The Orpheon will be yours. Her voice is just a rasp of burnt meat breath. But promise. She breaks off to scream a word in a language that was not made for human mouths. When she resumes speaking English, she is weaker. Her request little more than a gasp. Promise me one last service. Promise. So she starts screaming in an inhuman language. Okay. We can promise we will obey, make no promise and tell her to rest. Pull away. What if her condition is contagious? That would be terrible. Demand to know why she took the Orpheon to the Blue Kingdom. Well, I would expect that if she did not tell us, and if she is not telling us right now that she knows she's about to die, she doesn't want to tell us at all. So that would be pointless. We're gonna promise it just so that she feels good. And then we'll see if we keep our word or not. She sinks back, relieved. All in my will, she gasps. Be a better. She breaks off as the sigils burned into her bones flare, glowing cherry red through her flesh and skin. Better captain than I. That's burned into her bones. Okay. We can see it through her skin. Jeez. The effort exhausts her. She sinks back into the scorched pillows and the twisting, frantic fever. The walls of the captain's cabin, that's what I read earlier. Okay, so we are back to... what? I seem to remember that happening a lot. So you end a dialogue line, and then it gets you back to the previous chapter of that encounter, and it gives you the text again, without telling you that you just got back. So you start reading, and you figure out you've already read it. Okay. Anyway, take your leave. You have an engine to command. You leave the cabin and the scorched stink of its air behind, and return to the bridge. New Winchester is further than you'd like, and the captain hasn't long left. So we can shoot our cannon now. Okay, the meter down there is the heat of the engine. When we do special actions, such as firing a cannon or using thrusters, we get the heat up. If the heat hits max and we still use the engine, we are gonna damage the engine. And we just saw a marauder. That's some kind of pirate. Wow. Okay, not terrifying. I do love the attention to details. So here, if I turn to the left, we engage the right thruster. If I turn to the right, it's the left thruster. And if I dodge, I use 2 of those. You prepare to board the buckled wreckage, poised to plunder the plunderers. Behind you, someone is humming a song of victory. So we could strip it for repairs, but our hull has not been damaged. Or we can just raid the remains. Marauders pillage homesteads and hunt travelers all across the reach. They often carry stolen valuables. Your boarding party returns with wallets and watches, cufflinks, lockets and keepsakes. You store them in the safe to be pawned when if you make it back to port. So we got 33 sovereigns. Whoa. That's some kind of monster. I'm not sure I actually dodged it. Okay, it must have been damaged already, probably by that marauder. Because I remember these being quite tanky. A cantankery. Placated. yeah, quite. The cantankery are lumbering, half-fossilized isopods that will attack anything they disapprove of. Given that they are very ancient and murderously grumpy, that means almost everything. The corpse of the cantankery has been neatly sheared, creating a clear cross-section of its internal arrangements. We could prize precious stones from its carapace, retrieve a stony organ, or just leave it be, or some other options that we cannot do check about because we don't have the requirements. So we have checks on both of these potentially beneficial options. This one is more likely to happen. So that would... oh, well, let's just read it. Sometimes clusters of jasper, tourmaline, or agate? How do you pronounce that in English? Agate. Let's go with the French here. Can be found embedded in the calcified plates. That gives us sovereigns, so just money. Or retrieve a stony organ. Send one of the crew with a set of pliers. You will always find an uncanny specimen, but may lose crew. Oh, so that's what the 17% chance of success is. Success means sparing our crew. We'll go with that, and I will explain the reasoning a bit later. Damn. Caramba. The price. Still, the cantankery resists death. As your crewman tugs at a slick, knobbed gland, the beast spasms. Greedy Icus? Let's go with Icus. Spray across his sky suit, chewing at the leather. When you drag him back aboard, it is clear he will not last long. He still clutches the extracted gland. Its color is halfway between liver and granite. Oh well.